Okay, welcome to Technology for Teaching Statistics in the Traditional and Online Classrooms. I'm Gail Tudor. I'm from Bangor, Maine. I teach, obviously, statistics. I'm also at Hudson College now, and I also use a lot of technology, so I'm happy to chair this session. We have 6 speakers. Each speaker will be speaking for 15 minutes. Please hold your questions till the end. We'll have a 15-minute question session at the end. I'm pretty sure every speaker will probably use up all their time, so we probably won't have time for questions in between. Our first speaker is Chris Builder, Associate Professor, Department of Statistics, University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Obviously, we'll be speaking on tablet PCs. He'll be followed by Chris Malone, also looking at tablet PCs, but Chris is from Winona State University. They've required their students to lease laptops since 1998, so you guys are pretty much one of the first there. So they'll go ahead and give their 2 talks, and then I'll introduce the next speaker as we go.
Well, thank you, all of you, for coming here today. Chalk and slate, pencil and paper. These have been the traditional tools used for the delivery and reception of information in the classroom for a long time. Over the years, we've had a number of advances, such as overhead projectors, visual presenters, data projectors hooked up to laptops, and now some students bring laptops into class and simply type notes on those. Unfortunately, there's a number of drawbacks with these tools. For example, in a classroom such as this, a professor might be giving a PowerPoint presentation to their students. But since this PowerPoint presentation is made up in advance, often it's maybe kind of static. Also, it's hard to change the PowerPoint presentation or augment it on the fly to meet the needs of the students. Also, sometimes maybe a professor will write on the dry erase board that you see there to respond to student questions. But as what we can see there is that a large portion of the dry erase board has actually been taken up by the projection screen. In terms of a drawback for the reception of information by students in a classroom, if they're using pencil and paper, it's hard to insert text between already written items that have been taken for notes. Also, it's hard to automatically search written notes as well. Of course, if you are using a laptop to take notes on, you could automatically search those written notes, or search those typed notes. But it's hard to type diagrams, it's hard to type arrows, it's hard to type complex equations, and do them all quickly in a classroom setting. A solution to these problems then is to use tablet PCs. Tablet PCs were first introduced back in 2002, and all they are is just a regular old laptop that has a digitizer pen that can be used to interact with the screen just like a mouse, but also can be used to interact with the screen just like how pencil interacts with paper, how chalk interacts with slate. What this leads to then is, in terms of the delivery of information by an instructor in a classroom, it allows the instructor to combine the freedom of chalk and slate with computerized classroom content. In terms of the reception of information by students in a classroom, it allows them to merge the flexibility of writing with computer-based documents. Tablet PCs have been slowly catching on in academia. Myself and Chris Malone, we've been users of tablet PCs since 2003. There have been some large-scale implementations of tablet PCs, as what was mentioned earlier, Winona State University, and also Virginia Tech's College of Engineering requires their students to all have tablet PCs. And even the University of Nebraska football team uses tablet PCs to help educate their football players on game strategies. We won't talk about what happened last year for the football team. Fortunately, we have a new coach. But he did take that technology with him to the New York Jets. So our purpose here today is to go out and provide some examples in statistics education of how to use tablet PCs. Due to time restrictions, we are not going to examine the specific details on how to actually implement them, but we'd be more than happy to talk to any of you after our presentation. Also, we don't have time to also discuss assessment, but we do have details on these items on my website, chrisbuilder.com/tabletpc. So as mentioned earlier, I'm going to do part 1 of these tablet PC presentations, where I'm going to be talking about learning environments where the instructor primarily is the only one with a tablet PC. That's what I have at the University of Nebraska. First of all, some basics. So there's a lot of software packages that you can use where you can actually write it. You know, all the common software packages like Word, PowerPoint, and Excel, you can write it with your pen. But there's also other software packages such as OneNote and Windows Journal made by Microsoft that allows you to write in them, that they're specially made for tablet PCs. There's PDF Annotator, Bluebeam PDF, other software too not made by Microsoft where you can also write in them. There's a lot of software too that you cannot write directly in with a pen, but you can always use the pen though in place of the mouse. And if you really wanted to avoid using the keyboard altogether, you can still use the tablet PC input panel a variety of different ways to get typed text into documents. So how can you use a tablet PC during class? This first example comes from my Bootstrap course that I teach at Nebraska, primarily for PhD statistics students. Last time I taught it in spring 2008, I also had Kansas State students also taking the course, and we were all linked together, both universities, through a live video link. And I'm going to show you some videos from those classes. So we get out of this PowerPoint presentation. First video comes from February 14th. And what you see here in the video, you see me on the left in front of my tablet PC screen, so I'm kind of bending down to write something on the screen. On the right-hand side, you see my actual tablet PC screen. Students at both Kansas State and Nebraska were able to see both simultaneously. And these, what's in my tablet PC screen here is just some Word lecture notes that students bring to class with them, paper copies. And during class, what I do, I simply annotate or add content to these lecture notes as needed as we go along through them. This video is actually an hour and 15 minutes long. We don't have that much time. So what I'm going to do is actually fast forward it, and you can see basically my pen strokes on the screen as we go along. Also, I have to turn off the audio. So just to begin with, a very simple application of the tablet PC. I'm trying to explain some notation here. Fast forward and rewind. You can see me right on the screen adding content to help explain some of our notation. You can also circle, draw arrows and stuff as well. Basically use your pen as a laser pointer. You can draw graphs to help illustrate particular concepts that students might be having difficulty with. And let me just keep on going through here. You can see as I keep on fast forwarding, I'm using my pen a lot. I'm also talking with my hands too. And you can see, for example, with this, we have some complex equations here, and I was trying to illustrate to my students how to actually implement what's actually an influence function there, how to actually implement it for a specific example of coefficient of variation. And let me just show you some more. Again, you can see just how much I'm actually using writing throughout my course. And let me go to the next video. So this is from February 28th, and I'm trying to describe a hard plot for students to understand. It's a jackknife after bootstrap plot. I don't have time to go into details about what this plot's actually representing, but what I want you to focus on is how I take basically every part of the plot step by step and I annotate it with my pen to help the students understand what every part is actually representing, again, step by step. And sometimes I can even erase stuff if things are getting a little messy, and again, add content to the lecture. There's a variety of ways that you can also use tablet PCs to interact with students, such as fill in the blank questions. Well, you can actually fill in the blank there with your pen. Also, if you're doing proofs with your students in class, well, you can have your students have a typed, maybe outline of notes that has part of the proof on it, and then as needed you can actually write in other steps or ask students what will be the next step of the proof. Outside of class, one good application of tablet PCs is for grading. I have my students hand in all their assignments via Word or PDF documents, and I grade them electronically with my pen. Why would you want to do that? Well, you're going to save paper. It's a lot easier to take your grading with you. You don't have to stack of papers anymore, like for example on an airplane. Grade on an airplane. Allows you to return graded items to students electronically before class for quicker feedback, and they can come prepared for that next class, asking questions. And you can erase and rewrite comments easily. Here's an example from an introductory stat course that I teach. Students on this particular assignment got 36 out of 40 points, where they started missing some points, so bring up. Let me go back, excuse me. Well, we'll assume that. What you can see here is they missed 2 points on this particular problem, and without going into all the details, what they're trying to do is find a confidence interval for the difference of 2 proportions. So we have P1 and P2 in the middle. Unfortunately, these students replaced the unknown parameters with their corresponding estimates, and thus they missed 2 points. Part D here, they didn't quite get the interpretation of confidence interval correct, so I simply crossed it out and wrote in the correct interpretation. So you can see that grading basically proceeds just like you would with a red pen and a piece of paper. Now you have all the advantages of electronic grading. You can also combine the use of a tablet PC with computer recording software. Combine tablet PCs with computer recording software in order to capture almost all content that happens in a classroom setting. What I mean by that is it allows you to record the sound of what happens in the classroom, including classroom discussions. It allows you to record the video once appearing on your tablet PC screen too. The reason why that's important is because in a tablet PC environment, there's no longer any need to use a chalkboard, dry erase board. Any written content that you're adding to a lecture or any kind of classroom setting, you can actually write on the screen. And if you have a webcam, you can actually use that to record live action video. And then in the end, provide students with a podcast that they can view after class. And even after they take the course, they can take those recordings with you and relive the same experience again. Give you one example. We are actually recording right now. There's my little webcam that's set up that's recording our presentation. So after, later tonight, if you want to go to chrisglover.com/tabletpc, you can actually access a video recording of our 2 presentations. And the recording is done with Camtasia Studio software. The example then of the implementation 2 in a classroom setting, my categorical data analysis course at Nebraska, for a variety of graduate students. Again, we have time restrictions, so I'm just going to show you a screen capture of what the students would see. This is simply an Internet Explorer window that has the video loaded in it. On the left-hand side here, we have an index. We have a play button down below. We have a slider here that allows you to fast forward and rewind. And then the main portion of the screen is my actual tablet PC screen. And in this particular example, we're using PDF Annotator to examine a journal article in class. And the red ink that you see on there is the annotations that I made in the journal article. In terms of distance education, the Nebraska K-State Bootstrap course was one example. A little bit easier to implement example is if you use web conferencing software that's easily available. I use, for example, Adobe Connect Professional. Using web conferencing software enables faculty then to teach the course basically from anywhere live. Also allows the students to be attending the course from anywhere live. For example, from my April 9th categorical class last semester, I was at another university, and instead of calling off class, I said, we're still going to have class, but now we're going to meet in this Adobe Connect Professional web conferencing software. So we can get out of this and show you a quick video. So this is what the video would look like if they were to view it after class. And what we have here, just an Internet Explorer window. On the left-hand side here, you see me with a webcam focused on me. We have 17 students actually attending. We have a chat room set up so that students can ask me questions or give me comments about how things are going. If they had a microphone with their computer, they would ask me questions that way. And what we see here, the main part again is my tablet PC screen. And simply here right now, all I'm doing is just annotating some R computer output. So for example, I'm pointing out a particular p-value. And again, if I fast forward, keep on going here. We get to a point where I'm calculating an odds ratio. You see where my mouse cursor is. That's what OR stands for. And a number of items actually cancel out in this calculation of the odds ratio. With my tablet PC, I can simply show the students how things are actually canceling out. It's a minor thing, but think of it in another setting such as this, where you are doing distance education. You're trying to describe what's happening in a particular equation. It's so much easier to actually write it out versus to describe it verbally. Okay, so that is actually the end of my talk. How are we doing on time? Good. Okay. So next, Chris McCool is going to come up here.